This is one that Graham sort of suggested, which I thought was great. So I'm going to steal this and take credit for it if it sparks a good conversation. And if it doesn't, I'm going to say, Graham, that was a dud.
That was a dud idea, Graham. Why did you suggest that?
Is Simple Minds' New Gold Dream or Japan's Gentlemen Take Polaroids the post-punk generation's own Dark Side of the Moon? Paddy.
How are you defining Dark Side of the Moon in that context?
Well, kind of like Pot Smoker's Delight, one of those let me take you on a journey on headphones vibe. I mean, Dark Side of the Moon is completely unique, but it seemed to sum up a generation of 70s kids. In so many ways, like everybody when I was growing up talked about that album, and I, of course, didn't want to know about it and wasn't interested. Didn't hear it until about 10 years ago. And it is great. It was one of those albums that just like you had to have. It sort of evoked a time. And I'm just wondering whether, I know it's a long day, but this is Graham's question. The New Gold Dream.
This is definitely Graham's question.
As I'm switching over to Graham. New Gold Dream or Gentlemen have that, I don't know, you can get lost in them. In the sonics, in the production, and definitely on the headphones. I never smoked pot, but I imagine it's a pot smoker's albums too. And I just wondered if we had a post-punk generation's Dark Side of the Moon, would those two albums be contenders or potentially something else? That's the question.
Seeing as you asked the question, Graham, you probably got an answer for it.
You've just neatly sidestepped answering that, Paddy, by the way.
Oh, no. Yep. No. You go.
I'll thread you after this, Patrick. But I just like to remove the drugs aspect from it because I think it's unfair to compare these albums. Because if you went to someone who was in their 20s in the 70s and said, "Oh, this is our generation's Dark Side of the Moon," and they got stoned and listened to New Gold Dream, they wouldn't think the same because. There was a lot of drugs that went into Dark Side of the Moon. The listeners were on drugs. With the post-punk era, not so much. It was just, we were just astounded at this music we were listening to.
Did you know any of our friends in those days, Graham?
I knew so. I knew, and I'm not saying the drugs went around.
There was a lot of them,
but
possibly smoking. But
it wasn't. I just think it's unfair to compare it in that lens, in that frame of mind. So I think that New Gold Dream in particular, although I spoke to you recently, Mark, and I thought that Gentlemen Take Polaroids might also be a contender, but I think that they are our generation's Dark Side of the Moon because we used to listen to these albums, and I don't know about you guys, but I used to wonder how the hell they did it, how they created those sounds, how they created this mood. And I, to this day, haven't heard Dark Side of the Moon, but I've heard bits of it. And and I guess I just get tired of old hippies talking about how great Dark Side of the Moon was. And I think our generation, we have our own versions. And I would like to throw my weight behind New Gold Dream.
Well, I think there's a real kind of specific soundscape thing that Pink Floyd were trying to do. That it was music to kind of drift away to, whereas the quite tight song structures of New Gold Dream and Gentlemen Take Polaroids don't lend themselves so much to that. But yeah, both of those albums, as in the Simple Minds album and the Japan album, do have kind of qualities where you're going, is that a guitar? Is that a synth? Is that and the drum production, the kind of the echoing drums and the kind of reverb and delays and all that are so unusual and so specific to those two albums, and they are such complete kind of works of art that I think it's a good comparison to make. Really. And sonically it feels like there are similarities between Dark Side of the Moon and New Gold Dream in particular, because there are those echoing instrumental sections of New Gold Dream which do have a bit of a Dark Side of the Moon kind of vibe to them.
Yeah.
No, I think I was just introducing the pot element to it because it was such a big thing for people to listen to those albums on headphones and kind of drift away. And I'm sure you could do the same to those two because they are sonically so rich and deep, and there's so much to hear and listen to, and maybe have your consciousness altered by like a sound that comes out of left field, and you only might hear it once. You might only be featured once in the song, and you go, wow. And they really are both mind-blowing albums and stand alone. I think it's a fair comparison, Brad, on any feel.
I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah, well, there you go. Now you can live it on one.
Yeah, good question, Mark.
Thank you. I refined it. I made it work. Graham, this is the challenge.
Yeah, it was, as I recall, it was pretty half-baked in its original form.
Boom.